What's up to those watching the video? For those of you who are live on stream, I've been live already talking about science for 30 minutes, but today we're going to cover COVID vaccines and why they're so important and why they should not be a political issue. And this is really important. It should not be political. The fact that it's the right wing pushing these anti-vax conspiracies, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm sorry, right wingers. I know you get your feelings hurt. I know you get all up and antsy in my comments saying I'm being biased and all of that. I don't want you to die either, but more importantly than you, right wingers, choosing not to get vaccinated, I don't want immunocompromised people who can't get the vaccine to be forced to quarantine almost indefinitely or die. It's just not fair on immunocompromised people, right? Some people are born immunocompromised. HIV positive people have to worry. People with donor organs who are on immunosuppressants have to worry. You can't make this political. Some science should not be political. So I'm not going to be mocking anybody. I'm not going to be making fun of Republicans in this video, and I know that's a staple. So I apologize to the leftists as well who are looking forward to a good old-fashioned Republican roast. So the first person I'm going to talk about today is the most powerful Republican voice in America. Like, a lot of people say it. It's actually pretty true based on his viewership figures, and that's Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson likes to present what he's doing as just asking questions. But what he's actually doing is making wild accusations and implications about the effects of the COVID vaccines, about side effects and histories and problems. He talked about the Bell's palsy issue, even though it was a case of one person. There is a study, which I will link in the description, and I just had it up on stream, that proved that there's no association of COVID-19 and facial nerve palsy. So if we go here, there's no correlation in healthy individuals. And there was one BMJ case study where they said that we should investigate the relationship between type 2 diabetes and between the COVID-19 vaccine, and it's sort of recommending further scientific study. It's not coming to any conclusions yet. Of course, Tucker Carlson sensationalized it because that's what he does. And I think it's very telling that the guy who says, I just want to ask questions. I just want to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with honest answers. Has multiple times when asked, have you, Tucker Carlson, been vaccinated? Right? Multiple times, his reply has been, that's an inappropriate question, and he loves to run to, and this was in a phone conversation with a news reporter. He said, because I'm a polite person, I'm not going to ask you any super vulgar personal questions like that. After he was asked if he was vaccinated, when he's telling the American people to question the vaccine, avoid the vaccine, not get vaccinated, right? And 70% of people who have not been vaccinated yet in America are saying that nothing could convince them to. And he has been the biggest and most outspoken voice against the vaccine. He then broke into a cackle and let loose, I mean, are you serious? What's your favorite sexual position? And when did you last engage in it? This is a completely ridiculous, right, comparison. It is so logically inept that it's difficult to break down because there's so much to talk about. But let's talk about this as simply as possible. Is it relevant? If there was a new sexual position, you know, called the dancing donkey that was causing people to die, right? And you're there going, I'm not sure, the dancing donkey, it's a pretty good sexual position. And then people go, well, do you do the dancing donkey? And he's like, well, I'm just saying we should question these studies that say that the dancing donkey is dangerous, right? I'm just saying we should question them. I'm not going to tell you whether I participate in the dancing donkey or not. I'm just saying that other people do, and it's their choice, and we should just ask questions about whether the reports that it kills people are actually accurate. This is Tucker Carlson's approach, right? And if that was his approach, I think it would be appropriate to ask him, hey, Tucker Carlson, do you participate in the dancing donkey? Because you're encouraging other people to participate in this dangerous activity. The same thing applies to refusing to vaccinate, but still wanting to go outside and mingle with people. The answer is, there is a lot of evidence that COVID kills people. There's a lot of evidence that not getting vaccinated puts other people at risk. So it's even worse. Well, the dancing donkey would as well. Obviously, you've got a partner for the dancing donkey. I mean, Tucker Carlson probably does like his solo stuff, so maybe not. But regardless, okay, we've got a situation where somebody is saying, don't take this vaccine, even though not taking it could lead to your death or someone else's, right? And he's saying it while not disclosing whether he's been vaccinated or not. Well, I want to be very clear. Other Fox News hosts have come out and said Fox would only let them back to film if they have been vaccinated. So, since Tucker won't answer the question, and if he hadn't been vaccinated, I'm sure he'd say, I like to ask questions, I'm not ready yet, so no, he has been vaccinated. Tucker Carlson has been double vaxxed. Please don't fool yourself. So why is he pushing this? We'll get to that in a little bit. I've got a theory on why the right wing is pushing these anti-vax agendas, but I do want to get to describing the vaccine, because a lot of the people who are upset about this are worried. They're saying you're giving us attenuated virus. We could shed proteins. There's protein shedding. We could give other people the vaccine by like viral protein shedding. There's people that saying it causes Bell's palsy, as I proved that's not true. There were the Johnson & Johnson blood clots, but none of those people died. It was less than a dozen people. They all had comorbidities in being overweight and diabetic. It seems like there are strong interactions between type 2 diabetes and severe obesity and the vaccine, but that is to be expected, seeing as severe obesity and type 2 diabetics do mess with your immune system and metabolism. So it's kind of bad. So it is unhealthy. I'm sorry. I know it's not body positive, but being that severely obese to the point where you've given yourself type 2 diabetes, that's bad. You shouldn't do that, and it is going to cause health issues, including issues, unfortunately, with this vaccine. So I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit because this is so important, and I'm trying not to mock any Republicans. I'm going to explain. I'm a geneticist, and I'm going to get my lab coat because it's science time. So I have my degree in genetics from one of the top universities on the planet, and I studied gene editing, which is what a lot of people are worried about when they hear mRNA, and it's an mRNA vaccine. People also worry about the spread of proteins and things. There is no protein shedding. There's no way that you can infect other people with the vaccine from COVID. There's no way that the vaccine can evolve into COVID proper. It just doesn't happen because an mRNA vaccine works very differently from a traditional vaccine. Traditional vaccines include either whole dead viruses or they hold proteins that have been harvested from viruses and they've been bound in certain ways to make them recognized by your body. This promotes an immune response as if you'd got the actual virus because it recognizes these surface proteins. Your body then has an immune response as if you had got sick, builds up the future immunity as if you had got sick, but without the downsides of, getting COVID, including, by the way, nice little medical study down below, impotence and a reduction in penis size is found in quite a lot of men who have had the COVID vaccine, especially people who get long COVID, and this new Delta variant is much more likely to give you long COVID. So long COVID is the long-term effects of COVID. So if you want a smaller dick, don't get vaccinated. That's if you're too big and you need a little bit of shrinkage and you're willing to risk your life to get there, don't get vaccinated. Otherwise, anti-vaxxers are radiating that small dick energy right now. mRNA vaccines work differently. They don't have any actual viral proteins in them, and they don't have any attenuated or dead virus in them. Instead, what they have is a lab-created genetic template for one of the surface proteins from novel COVID-19. Like one surface protein, and it's just the code for that. Now, a lot of people are worried that this is going to edit their DNA. This is not gene editing. We're actually not there yet. CRISPR is advancing quite quickly, but the kind of whole body curing a person or affecting the immune system with like direct gene editing is so far away that the idea that we've managed to do that just for COVID is insane. I wish that was there. I would inject myself tomorrow with the gene that was found in that one kid who has skeletal muscular hypertrophy, right? He is just jacked. His muscle is 4 times denser than other people. His metabolism burns at a ridiculous rate, so he's always skinny and cut, and he's super strong. And that is a genetic freak that exists. And I say freak in the nicest possible terms because I would inject myself if I could, right? So this is the thing. Gene editing would be amazing. And everybody's freaking out saying this edits our DNA. It edits our DNA. No. Messenger RNA is created inside the nucleus of your cell. It travels outside of your cell, runs through ribosomes that then use that code to build proteins. That's how mRNA works. When you have external mRNA, It never enters the nucleus of your cell where your DNA is. It just creates the proteins. It just moves through the ribosomes and creates the proteins. So you are just creating the surface proteins. The mRNA is actually destroyed during this process, so it's broken down by the cell very, very quickly. And it's not there anymore. And instead, you've just got this immune cell presenting this one COVID protein that your own body has made. And then that gets attacked by the rest of your body. You have a bit of an immune reaction. You feel a bit sick for a couple of days because your body is heating up and it's dealing with the virus that you've been infected with, even though there is no virus. And now you have an effective immune system that can respond to COVID-19. It's quite a simple concept that's existed for a very long time. And the thing about mRNA vaccines is they've been criminally underfunded. Genetics is a rather young science, and people would rather do what they know. But with the urgency of the COVID situation, mRNA vaccines exploded in the funding and the research and the speed at which we can do it. And that's why these vaccines were developed so quickly. It's not because corners were cut or studies weren't done. It was because the method of making an mRNA vaccine means you can do things concurrently instead of sequentially when it comes to testing and making sure everything is safe. So you can compress that whole timeline down to 6 months. They went through all the same safety tests as other vaccines. They just went through them concurrently instead of sequentially. Concurrently means at the same time, sequentially means one after the other. For any kids who somehow ended up on this, or maybe, non-native speakers of English. So that's a really, really important fact, is that this virus is so deadly, and yet we can have a vaccine that was developed this fast that can solve the issue without ever having to risk attenuated virus or anything entering our system, skipping a whole bunch of the safety concerns and allowing us to have a very effective and very fast vaccine that has been rolled out very efficiently. So why aren't people taking it? Well, people are scared because of misinformation that they are being absolutely piled with, right? Absolutely piled with by a political party. Why is it that Republican pundits and Republican senators are trying to make it out that COVID is somehow the fault of China, that somehow this Wuhan lab developed it either deliberately as a weapon or underhandedly and secretly? Why is it that people believe that this vaccine is somehow microchipped or makes you magnetic or gives you 5G waves or any of this stuff? Well, it's because Republican pundits have been pushing these stories, these completely fallacious, inaccurate, and misrepresented stories. You cannot find studies on these things because studies don't exist on these things, because at most it's a standalone person who had a weird reaction or a weird interaction, which does happen with other vaccines as well. Being anti-vax is incredibly dangerous to yourself and to others. Not vaccinating your kids is risking your kids' lives. The woman who lost her daughter and then said, well, at least she died free because she refused to have her daughter vaccinated for COVID-19, and then she was bragging about it. It's just depressing. It's really, really depressing. We are not forcing anybody to get the vaccine. We're not saying we're going to walk around with the vaccine, stab people in the arm, and make them have it. We are saying if you don't get the vaccine, you need to stay in quarantine. We have not reached any form of herd immunity. It is rampant across the country, my country, America. India is just breeding new variants, which are going to be much worse than current COVID. The Delta variant is much more likely to go into long COVID. The Delta variant is much more likely to kill young people. The Delta variant is much more infectious. The Delta variant is really, really scary. Right? Really scary. I'm scared because it can dodge vaccination. Not at a huge rate, but it can dodge vaccination. And this is because we didn't vaccinate enough people. This is not a fault of the vaccine. It's because India wasn't given any international support, wasn't given enough doses of vaccine, wasn't giving help administering that vaccine, and it became a giant petri dish to make a more virulent, more dangerous strain that maybe could dodge the vaccine. This is a problem. Right? This is a problem. You are risking more lockdowns. You are risking more problems by fighting against this and refusing to have a vaccine. Right? Now, when I say dodge vaccination, somebody's asked in chat, I want to make it very clear. It doesn't mean the vaccination had no effect. Instead of you getting really, really, really sick from the Delta variant and possibly dying, You just get really, really sick and might even be hospitalized. But it does still give some protection, actually a significant amount of protection, just it's such a bad strain that it can get through. Now, this is a United States Republican senator talking to Dr. Fauci, who, as much as you might not like him if you're on the right because he's been made into this sort of bad guy, you've got to acknowledge that he is a very highly trained medical professional who knows exactly what he's talking about. Senator Rand Paul, on the other hand, no medical training, has no idea what he's talking about. So let's watch this clip.
Knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
So
let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
And now he just starts interrupting him. Let me break down the NIH thing. The NIH did fund the lab in Wuhan, where it is theorized that this might have been a viral leak from a research laboratory. But I want to make it very clear. Senator Rand Paul directly accuses Fauci of being responsible for 4 million deaths the world over because he approved the funding by the NHS, by the NIH, sorry, for the for the research of viruses in that lab, right? But what's really important is every year they got a report of every single virus their funding had been used for, and it was never used on any novel COVID viruses, and the gain of function was not in any virus that has ever been released in any way. And even then, the research in that particular paper was not gain of function. It was chimeric, right? It was not gain of function. And there is a distinction, but unfortunately, explaining it to somebody as brain dead as Senator Rand Paul would probably take 25,000 years, and that's if he wanted to understand it, and he doesn't. And this is the bit I really want to get to, and I really want to make you guys think about this because it's really interesting watching crowds of people cheering on anti-vax.
What I want to get your reaction to is the crowd cheering when this gentleman talks about how the government was not able to achieve a 90% vaccine goal. The crowd cheers. As a public health official, what's your reaction when you hear that?
Oh, I thought this was going to be a video of the crowd cheering. Unfortunately, I have the wrong link pulled up. Anyway, at the CPAC thing, Republican Party, you know, it's a big Republican event, and somebody talked about how, I can't actually remember who it was, it might have been Donald Trump Jr., talked about how the government hadn't reached 90% vaccination, which is herd immunity, and the crowd cheered. And I think that that perfectly sums up why this has been politicized. And I'm really sorry to say this because I know I said I wouldn't rag on Republicans too much. It's because Trump completely botched management of this vaccine, right? Trump completely botched it. And then Biden came in and within months vaccinated vastly more than he promised during his political campaign. And this looks really, really bad for the Republicans. The fact that Trump vaccinated no one, had no vaccine plan, that the Biden administration proved that they had to come up with a vaccine plan from scratch. They created a plan, they deployed it, and they vaccinated people at a record-breaking and incredibly impressive rate, right? Then Trump tried to take credit for the vaccine, especially once Johnson & Johnson were on board. And then when that didn't work, and people started praising Biden, the right shifted from Trump taking credit for a vaccine. Because you got to remember, Trump was taking credit. Isn't it great? I made this great vaccine. All right, everybody should worship me, and I should be president again because I made this vaccine, and it's such a good vaccine. I've heard good things. Nice people, always nice to me. Vaccines work great for me. So, and then all of a sudden, the vaccine was bad, and all of a sudden, all the right-wing pundits, it's bad, it's unsafe, it's unsafe, it's unsafe. It's because they want to push down vaccination rates for the political reason of making Joe Biden look bad. There are other ways to make Joe Biden look bad. Don't get me wrong. He is not a perfect president. Not by a long shot, right? Even for leftists like me, Biden is very flawed. And you can definitely talk about those flaws. It is your right. It's your prerogative. as somebody who opposes him politically to talk about those flaws. But manufacturing a flaw by encouraging your base not to vaccinate, risking their lives, is not for the people. If you are one of the people who is not getting vaccinated and you've sat through this video to this point, I want you to know it's not in your best interest to not get vaccinated. The only people you're benefiting are the people laughing and cheering at the statistic, because these people have been vaccinated. Every Republican senator has been vaccinated. Every Republican politician has been vaccinated. Every Republican pundit on these news shows has been vaccinated. You think Ben Shapiro hasn't been vaccinated? You're crazy. He's been vaccinated. You think Crowder hasn't been vaccinated? You're crazy. He's been vaccinated. They are grifting. They are risking your life, but not theirs. None of them are taking the risk. They've had the vaccine, but now they will tell lies or, ask questions in order to convince people not to take the vaccine and put their own lives at risk. And I, as somebody who is, very knowledgeable on this subject, and also someone who is getting into political commentary, I'm really upset by this. Science should not be political, okay? Scientific fact should not be political. Never should be, ever. And the scientific fact is, without this vaccine, without getting vaccinated, you are putting your life at risk. You're putting the lives of those around you at risk, and you're putting the lives of immunocompromised people who have no choice at risk. You are taking away other people's freedoms because you are selfish or misinformed. Now, if you are misinformed, I'm sorry that that happened to you, but I have informed you now. So please, just go and get vaccinated. I'm not asking you to change your political leanings. You can stay right-wing after watching this video, okay? You can watch it and go, okay, I'm right-wing, but I'm going to get vaccinated because I recognize that political game. And while both sides play politics, and don't get me wrong, both sides play politics, the one place we should not be playing politics is vaccines. And I really think that that reflects poorly on the Republican Party and on your Republican leaders, that they are playing politics around vaccines. It's not safe. And I think that it's bad that Biden was saying, oh, we're going to brag if we get to this rate, or they're celebrating a crushing of Trump. Like, great. Yeah, no, Trump sucks. And I think he sucks, at least. That's my opinion. I think he did a really poor job with the vaccine. But maybe we should just talk about how good it is that people are finally vaccinated, so that we're not also alienating people on the right by being people on the left going, ha ha, we got people vaccinated and your president didn't. This is not the time to be scoring points. This is the time to be making people safe. All right? I don't want you to die. I don't want to die. I don't want my immunocompromised friends to die. I have several immunocompromised friends. I don't want them to die. So I would like for people to get vaccinated. I don't want my penis to shrink. So I would like people to get vaccinated so I don't catch this Delta variant and end up with long COVID and a shrinky dick. I don't want that shrinky dink. You get what I'm saying? So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video portion. Yeah, I stream constantly on twitch.tv/DuncanCantDie. You can check me out there. And I'll see you next time.